What's up, everybody? Welcome to Urban Crawlers, and this is phase 1 of the ORCA build. On this video, we're going to be just putting together the actual chassis for the ORCA build that I'm doing. So without further ado, let's switch over to the camera and see what we got going on. This is the second time that I'm doing the video, actually third now. So the plastic is cut open. I recommend that you cut the plastic open because if you just rip the staples, it's just going to be a sealed piece of plastic. Anyway, everything that comes in the kit is still in the kit, including the non-existence of the actual manual itself. It did not come in the kit. So in this kit, we have the frame rails and some hardware. Before we get to that, let me switch over to the actual thing that we have here. So this is basically INJORA's website, and this is the image that they have for this actual kit. This actual kit is specifically for the Bronco, because the ORCA build is basically based off of the Bronco body. This is going to be my instruction manual. I'm pretty decent with installing things just by looking at the pictures. So with that being said, let's move on. Alrighty. So the first thing that you're going to pull out is going to be the actual frame rails, the carbon fiber frame rails. You have two small pieces that identically match each other. So if you put them on top of each other, they identically match. These are the two small pieces right there. 1, 2. Then you have two longer pieces that identically match if you hold them back, if you hold them on top of each other and everything right here. Okay, so we're gonna set those aside. We're gonna hit into the overhead as I grab the actual hardware that comes with this kit. I'm gonna throw that to the side, and I'm gonna go over to the overhead. Let's get you guys zoomed in here. Boom. All right. So let's pop this open. And real quick, I'm just going to grab these two pieces. You're going to have this carbon fiber plate here. I'll explain what that's for later. Then here we have a hook and loop, which is also commonly known as Velcro. And then it's going to have two sticky components on either side of that. And then, like I said, we have all our hardware in the bag. If the camera focuses up on it. So we have a variety of screws. We have two brass components here and some brass hardware, bolts, nuts, and so on and so forth. Again, we do not have anything showing us exactly what is what, where anything goes. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to lay out my purple towel, my actual fiber rag towel here that I have. Oops, I'm going to flip that over that way. Okay, so we're going to set this up, and I'm going to pull out a couple of screws and a couple of components using my trusty tweezers. Should have did this in the first time I tried the video. That's why I'm doing it now on this one. All right, we're going to move this over, and we can actually, can we get closer? Oh yeah. Oh, that's as close as we could go, and that's good enough. So what we're going to do here is we're going to line up these two. We're going to put them together and line them up, because just thrown around, you can hardly see that they're different. One is taller than the other. The smaller one will go in the front of the vehicle, and the larger one will go in the back of the vehicle. Okay, and then we have these two bolts here, two screws. So these are the chunky screws. They're chunkier. The diameter of the screw itself is just chunky. And then these are the thinner screws. One's longer, one's short, one's longer, one's short. As you can see the difference in your camera now. And then we have a bolt that has a nylon thread on the inside. So basically this bolt doesn't allow itself to be backed out by vibrations or anything. That's what the nylon does. If you don't know that, now you do, unfortunately. And then this is just a regular standard bolt that does not have any nylon in it. Okay, so that's what we got here. And then we have this brass spacer, washer. This thing is used for a variety of different things in the INJORA stratosphere, I guess you could say. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you guys everything, what we need to do. So if I say chunky small, that's going to be this bolt right here. If I say chunky long, it's going to be this bolt. If I say skinny long, that's this bolt. If I say skinny short, that's this bolt. All right, so we're making up our own little thing here. If I say nylon nut, it's going to be this one. If I say regular nut, it's that one. And then brass, and then long brass tube, short brass tube. Like I said, the best way for you to know that they're different is the length and then the actual screw size that they accept. You can see the debris that I have there. So this one is the short one, and it accepts the chunky screws, and this is the longer one, and it only accepts the skinny screws. You go figure. All right. So now with all that explained, let's get moving on to the actual build itself. Now, there's a million and one different ways that we could put this thing together. I'm just going to try to put it together in the most easiest way that I could think of and everything. So what we're going to do first is we're going to switch over to the desktop. I'm going to show you guys what we're actually grabbing at. I'm going to do a circle here and show you we're going to assemble the two frame components together. So that's going to be these two screws right here. And now I'm going to explain to you real quick why we're going to use the actual screws that I recommend that we use are going to be these skinny small screws. We're going to need 4 of these, so take those out right now. All right, we're going to put these other screws back. 1, 2, 3. Actually, yep, 1, 2, 3. We're going to need 4 of those skinny screws, so we're going to go ahead and dive in and get those out. So there's another 1, 2, 3. We need one more. Where is it? Right here. 4. Oh, you guys can hardly see everything. Let's zoom out a little bit. So we need 4 of those, and then we need 4 bolts, which are the regular bolts like that. So I have 1. I have another one right here in the corner, so that's 2. All right. Let's get this thing shook up over here. Got to find these bolts. Where are these bolts? So some of the bolts are probably not moving because I have, like I said, this is the 3rd time doing the video. There's a little thread lock on there. And then there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 and 4. I have a little bit of thread lock here. If you're unfamiliar on how to actually use the thread lock, I just recommend that you get your thread lock tube and get something that's disposable. Put about 1 to 2 drops inside. There's already 2 drops in here, but like I said, this is the 3rd video. So 1, 2. 2 drops is plenty for what we're gonna do. Is actually overkill. So if you want to just use 1 drop to conserve your crazy expensive thread lock, then just use 1 drop. All right, so we got our thread lock dripped in and everything. We're gonna grab the 2 brass parts we can put into the parts bin. We don't need that right now. This we can throw over here. Okay. So like I said, there's a couple of different ways to do this. You're gonna need a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench to get into these bolts. Okay, so I got that bolt right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into these 2 top holes here. But before doing that, I'm going to grab, that's my fault. I dropped my screw because I let it go. So that screw is going to get juiced up. All right, so the best way to do this is to put the bolt on, to put the screw, the bolt, whatever you want to call it, onto the actual screwdriver. Hold it down with your finger, like pulling backwards, and then we're just going to dip it into the actual, that's way too much. We're going to dip it into the thread lock. Even that might be way too much right there, thread lock. So you just want to make sure that the thread lock goes inside the actual threads. So I'm going to put that one through. Then we're going to go on the inside, and it's the bottom hole from this piece that we're putting on. And as you can see, I have the orientation of this thing is going to be the C part is over here. And then the bottom hole is the one that I'm going to because I have the bottom hole over here. All right. So just like that. And then we're going to grab this bolt and put that on in place. Give it a little spin. Now, we just want enough that it gets to hold on. Okay, so now I definitely recommend if you have this thing, use it. It helps a ton. So this thing is going to hold those little bolts together. So now I'm going to get another, they're going to hold the nuts down while we tighten the bolts. God, back and forth with the names of everything. So I got my thread. So as you can see, I got my thread lock. We're gonna pick up this piece again. And now I'm gonna go into the hole above it. You can see right there. All right, right above it. Then I'm gonna grab the bolt, the nut, which I probably said bolt on the last one. And we're just gonna make sure that it spins a little bit slightly in place. And now this is where this little star thing comes into place. It's gonna be the smallest one. We're gonna go right over and we're gonna make these snug. All right. So now, is the thread lock 100% necessary? It's not. There's going to be some people in the comments, and I'm going to catch them before they even say it. You don't need thread lock, blah, 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 blah. Then don't use it. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you to use it. I'm telling you how I do it. Okay? And what I recommend. So this is what we have assembled right now. Boom. So now, if we look at the picture, this is going to be the side, and we're going to look at this area right here in the picture. So let's go check that out. Boom. Alrighty, so again, highlighted, that's what we assembled right there. So now we're going to flip it and do the same thing to the other side. And we're going to do that simply by just grabbing the other components. We're going to set this to the side over there, and we're going to grab these. And we already have the bolts out because we already scavenged everything out. So again, we're going to set up the bolt, dip it into the thread lock. I'm going for the bottom hole in here, which is going to be the bottom hole on this piece here. So it's going to go down and up. So that's how you want it to look. All right, and I'll show you guys in a minute the orientation. Let me just grab this nut, get it back on top right here, get it into place. And then I'm trying to change my camera. Actually, I'm just trying to add my bubble. All right, so that's how we're looking. This is the front of the truck. This is the rear of the truck, and it looks good so far. All right, if you guys don't like this view, that's what I want to know about in the comments and everything like that. If this view is good enough or not. So we're gonna proceed and grab the next screw, connect it. We got some thread lock. And then we're gonna go for the upper hole right there. We got that in place. Then we're gonna grab the nut and then we're gonna drop it in place, which is right on the top. Get that going. We're gonna grab this the wrench thing again. We're gonna make these snug. All right. So 1, 2. That's snug there and there, and that's snug right there. All right, so the assembly is complete. We have our, move this over. Oh, it's out of frame. So we have our one. So if you lay them both down in the same direction, what you should be looking at is the bolts here, and then the nuts over here. So the Allen key holes, one should be one way, one should be the other way. This front piece should be on the top. It's just stupid for me to explain to you guys. This is a good way to explain it. If you take both and you lay them separate from each other like this, one, it looks like a frog. Two, you should just look at the bolts. The front pieces should be on top of the back pieces, and that's how it should look. It should be completely opposite of each other, and then you'll know that you set it up right. Moving on. So now we're gonna go back into the bin and we're gonna grab these two snubby screws, the short, chunky screws, or fat screws, whatever you want to call them. So these two, we're gonna grab two of these, all right? Grab two of these guys, 1, 2. Then we're gonna grab we have two of the skinny short screws that we want. 1, 2. And you can place them away from each other. I got the two skinny short screws over here, two chunky short screws over there. We're gonna grab the two brass rings. You just hold them up against your finger and you notice which one is long, which one is short. You take the short one, put it with the snubby screws, and then you take the long one and put it with the skinny screws. And then we get the parts bin out of the way. All right. For this, we're also gonna need this plate here. Okay. So what we're gonna install first is gonna be the front. So again, I'm gonna load up my screw. So this is the chunky screw. I'm gonna get some thread lock on there. We're gonna pick up, this is gonna be, the back of the truck is here, the front of the truck is here. This should be the passenger side of the truck. Okay, so flipping it over, you should be looking at the two Allen key holes. This is the front of the truck, this is the back of the truck. That's exactly what you should be looking at. We're gonna go right into this hole right here on the top of this corner with the screw, like that. We're gonna grab the brass piece and just start screwing it on. Now, if you grab the brass part because you didn't separate it and it doesn't fit, you got the wrong one. That's the longer one, it needs to go in the back. Shorter one goes in the front. So we're just gonna get that nice and snug into place, like that. Now we're gonna do the same thing and grab the other bolt, the skinny bolt, get it into some thread lock there, boom. And then we're gonna do the actual reverse effect. We're looking at the Allen key holes. The front of the truck is over here towards my left hand. The back of the truck is over here. We're gonna go right into that top hole again on the opposite side. And then we're gonna grab the other piece and we're gonna line up the brass bar and screw that in. So laying it down on the floor and holding it down, you can tighten it up. If not, leave it a little loose right now until we get the back plates, the back pieces together. So on this one, we just need to line up these two little pegs on either side up with these two holes that are cut inside the actual frame rails right here on the back. Okay, so just line that up in there. And then that one in there, just like that. All right, so that's what it should be looking at like. So now I'm gonna grab one of the skinny screws, load it up onto my screwdriver, get some thread lock going. We're gonna go to the closest screw hole to the front. All right, if you wanna go from the back way, it's gonna be the one furthest away from the back, so that's gonna be that one. So we're gonna get the screw in place. We're gonna get the brass bar lined up and hold it and screw it into place. Now, it's not uncommon for this stupid little piece in the middle, as you can see here. It fell out of place. So just line it back up and push it back together. All right. So if it falls out, don't think that, you know, oh man, I'm messing up. It happens to everybody. It happens to me. So we're gonna load up the screwdriver again. More thread lock. Boom. And then again, we're gonna go with the whole obviously the one that lines up with the brass. And we're gonna get that into place just like that. We're gonna tighten that down snug. All right, so right here, this is the full assembly, what I need for the actual, for the build that we're doing, which is the ORCA build. Now, I'm just making sure that these are nice and snug here. So there's gonna be times where you look and there's gonna be a little bit excess of thread lock. So you see it's all smushed over there. It wipes off simply. If you catch it now, it's easier to clean. So you just take your fiber rag. I always use a fiber rag. And just wipe it up. I got these fiber rags from what is that called? Amazon. So if you're interested, that's the name of these fiber rags from Amazon. If you want to look at it, because I like the purple ones and whatnot. Go ahead and judge me. So now, for the build that I'm doing, the chassis is complete. What is the rest of the hardware? I'm going to explain that, but real quick, anybody that's here just for the ORCA build, you could go ahead and leave because we're actually done. And I told you put the rest of it in the bag for later, marking it down as such, because if you have a build like this and it's on the side, you can replace all the black screws with all these aluminum INJORA performance screws. So if you want, or you could put them together and sell them as a screw kit, or, you know, help a friend out with a build, or hold it for another build. So with that being said, ORCA people, we're done. Everybody else that's doing this as a complete swap over for the TRX4M, put your seatbelts on, man, because we got a little ride to go to. All right. So now, you guys, we're going to dive into the screws. So now, if you were here at the beginning, then you know what screws we're talking about. We have chunky and skinny, long and short. So we want the chunky, long screws right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We want 4 of these brass pieces right here with the holes in them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we want all 4 of these nylon bolts, nylon nuts. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, leaving you with a whole bunch of other stuff that's in here. Okay, you with me? Let's check it out. I'm gonna try to zoom this thing. I don't know where that zoom is. Okay, so you took apart your TRX4M. Okay, so you should have 4 suspensions available to you. I should have left that out. So now connecting the suspension to the actual frame of the chassis is fairly simple. We're just going to go ahead and take this, I'm going to show you only on one. So we're going to take one long bolt. We're going to go through the suspension. Okay. So now, depending on if you're finicky or not, if you can see the orientation, the way I have the bolt lined up, you have the head of the bolt, and then it's nice and clean here. If I turn the strut around, there's a hole here. So just be mindful to make that hole face on the inside so it doesn't look bad when you're putting your vehicle back together, right? So we have that. Bolt goes there. We're going to take one of these brass pieces and then put it on. This bolt right there. Boom. And that's weird that that thing just ripped out the middle. Okay, so we have that. The bolt, the brass, and that's what it looks like. Now you have a variety of holes to put your suspension in. Okay, so you could put any one up here, any one over here, completely up to you. Okay, so wherever you want to put your suspension, you need to have this brass piece in place. We're going to just put it right here just for the sake of the video. And that's the way you want it to look. Okay, and then we're going to grab the actual nylon bolt nut, and then I'm going to keep my finger in the way so you guys can't see nothing. So we're going to line up the nylon nut with the actual screw, bolt, whatever you want to call it. All right, so that's lined up there. And then, believe it or not, yep, this is going to work again for us. We're going to flip it over to the other side and then get into that nylon bolt using your 1.5 millimeter screwdriver. Again, we're going to tighten that up. And we're going to leave it as such. You don't need thread lock here because the nylon is supposed to keep the bolts from backing out on their own. That's why those bolts are somewhat more my favorite. All right, so that's how you set up your suspension. You have all these options here and all these options up here. to put your suspension wherever you want it. That's your preference, but that's how you connect your suspension. The rest of the hardware is going to go for each strut or coil spring, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now, oh, but Hugo, we have so much more hardware left over. I know, guys, I know. So we're gonna dump this hardware out and take a look at it. This bolt right here is just gonna be an extra. That's why there's only one. So we're gonna leave that in the parts bin. Okay, we're gonna look at to see what bolts we have here. Let's line these bad boys up. Anything on an odd number, so like if you have 5 bolts, the 5th one is the extra one. Okay, so I have 4, 1 2 3 4, and 4, 1 2 3 4. Okay, these are exact same size bolts, and then I have these two. I have one long one and one short one. These are all skinny bolts. So now, why do I have these bolts? These two are spares that go with that other bolt. They don't give you spares of the nylon nuts the majority of the time because they're more expensive. And not only that, they're very rarely lost because they stay in. So anything that comes loose is basically what I believe they give you the spares for. Okay, so the rest of these bolts are going to be for your actual donor car. So these 2 bolts right here. Oh my God. Let's try the overhead. Again, these 2 bolts right here. Okay, there's going to be 1 2 3 4. Okay, to remove them, you take off the back bolts and pull the whole assembly out for the bumper, for the front bumpers assembly. Okay, when you do that, it's going to line up with this, and you're going to put the 2 bolts on this side. Okay, and then the 2 bolts on the opposite side. Those are the 4 bolts for the front. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing for the rear. You're going to remove that bolt that's in the frame rail, and then you're going to remove the other bolt that's in the frame rail. And then it's going to attach to here, and then that's how you set it up. Let's do one because I want to do one, and I just want to double check to make sure. So we're going to do the back bumper, and we're going to go for the bolts that are stripped out. Why is that stripped out? I've never taken this truck apart before. So 1.5 millimeter is going to get these bolts out for you. We're going to be stripping off the bumper bolts right now. As you can see, I'm taking this bolt off, but it really seems like it's stripped out. So I might be just replacing that bolt altogether. So I'm going to go ahead and on the opposite side, remove this bolt. Parts bin. And we're just going to slide everything off, leaving this thing exposed like so. All right, and then you can see I have that. Now, this is the back end of the truck. I'm going to be sliding that into place. Oh, look at that. We only need 2 bolts. I thought it was 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So I wonder if we have just a whole another setup. Oh no, okay. So 1 2. Maybe I'm misleading what the hardware is for. Okay, so give me a second. We're gonna figure out the hardware. All right. So we installed 2 of the chrome bolts there. I honestly believe it's to replace these bolts here so they don't stay black. That's my honest opinion. Because who would want mixed matching bolts? This is a performance company providing you with performance upgrades. All right. So performance like so that they match, so they don't look like that. That's exactly what I believe. So again, 4 in the back, 4 in the front, and that's exactly how you're gonna assemble it. All right, looks good, looks very good. So you're gonna hook that up just like that. All right. So I explained to you guys basically pretty much what you got to do. I hope this video helps everybody out. Anybody following the ORCA build, I definitely appreciate it. I had this design in my head and I wanted to see if it could be done. Just, you know the story. If you don't know the story, go into the description below and I'm going to have a video just explaining the complete story of why I'm making the ORCA build and what it is, for lack of a better term. All right, so like I said, this is phase 1. Phase 2 is going to be the actual skid plate and front and rear bumper mounts. Right? I don't know. Should I do one at a time? Do the skid plate only and then the front and rear bumper mounts? Yeah, phase 2 is going to be the skid plate. So just keep an eye out for that. Definitely look in the description below for the actual playlist for this whole build series and everything. I need water. I need water bad. All right. So with that being said, I definitely appreciate you guys joining, following, subscribing, whatever the heck you guys do. With that being said, my name is Hugo. Later.